Nick Baldwin for SevereMMA here with a UFC middleweight fighter who defeated Oskar Piechota via second round technical submission just last night at the Palms at the Ultimate Fighter 27 finale in the first fight of the night here in Las Vegas. It is Gerald GM3 Meerschaert. Gerald, thanks again for the time. Great talking to you for the second time this week. Can you be doing any better than right now, considering you're just less than 24 hours after a second straight victory?
I mean, I feel pretty good. I'm got a couple bumps and bruises, but nothing major. Feel on top of the world. I've got two teammates fighting tonight on the main card for UFC 226, and today's a good day.
Before we talk about your fight, give me your thoughts on Paul Felder's fight. Of course, you have two Rufus Sport teammates fighting tonight, as you mentioned. Paul Felder against Mike Perry and Anthony Pettis against Michael Chiesa, both on the pay-per-view main card. How do you see? Obviously, you're predicting both of them to win. How do you see those ones playing out?
So, as far as Felder and Mike Perry goes, I think another UFC fighter said it best. Paul Felder is a technical, intelligent welterweight, and Mike Perry is a welterweight. So I think Paul definitely has the advantage as far as skill. I think they're about the same size. I don't think he's that much smaller. I don't think he's going to be that much smaller weight-wise come fight day. He's a big, physical guy, and I think that the 65 weight class for sure would benefit him, and he might even be comfortable at 70. So I think we're going to see a very exciting fight out of Paul. I think Anthony is going to look amazing against Chiesa. He's, just been a terror in the gym. This is like the most zoned in I've seen him in a long, long time. And I think he's in Chiesa's head a little bit. Chiesa missed weight. He's already making excuses about being a welterweight after this and all kinds of stuff. And he was kind of lipping off to Anthony, and that's not something you want to do. When you start talking smack to Anthony Pettis, he shows you that South Side Milwaukee part of him, and he starts giving out ass whooping, so it's going to be an exciting fight.
Speaking of Chiesa, I don't know if you noticed, but he walked right past us just a second ago.
Oh,
there he is.
Oh, well, that's fine. He's still wearing those stupid-ass pineapple shorts, but, it's not going to change the outcome of tonight.
Let's talk about your fight. You defeated You defeated Oskar Piechota in the second round, as I said, via technical submission, putting him out cold, unconscious. Tough first round, though. Let's talk about that. How hurt were you, if hurt at all, were you in that first round?
I mean, he hit me with some tough shots, I was never completely out. That one right hand that sat me down at the end, I got to watch the fight, obviously, because it's on Fight Pass, so it's available right now. He was moving in with his whole body. So it wasn't just the fact that he was punching. He had his entire weight behind the punch, and I believe I was in the act of throwing something as well that kind of makes it twofold, because when you just getting hit with something hard sucks to begin with, but if you hit someone when they're in the act of hitting, I have my energy and weight going in such a way that I'm trying to land a strike as opposed to brace for an impact. Most shots you can take in a fight because you can kind of see them coming, you can plant your feet, you can distribute the weight a little bit better. But if you don't see that coming, like when you're throwing a strike like I was, that's when you get sat down. And, I wasn't out, but I felt his power. And, then I knew I had to make an adjustment, and I figured it out later in the second round.
Your face is a little bruised up, as expected. But really, you don't look that bad. I mean, considering you were dropped, I think, once or twice in that first round. Are you feeling the effects, after this fight more than usual, or about the same?
I mean, I was in a fist fight, so, it's about the same. I got a little bruising on my face right here. My knee hurts a little bit from those inside leg kicks, and when he threw them, they were kind of weird because he didn't throw them quote-unquote correctly, as in he wasn't attacking the meat on the inside of my lead leg, but he was hitting kind of the kneecap shin bone area. So, the first one obviously kind of took me off my feet again. I was striking, and he threw an inside leg kick. It was a good move. Took my balance off me, and then the second few, sometimes it kind of throws you off. You still need to check them and defend them. But in my head, I'm like, okay, you're not kicking me in a way that's going to hurt me right now in the fight. So that threw me off a little bit, but again, nothing major.
What was the message in your corner? Of course, you had Mike Biggie Rhodes in the corner. Who else did you have? Was it just him or someone else?
I had Mike Biggie Rhodes, Scott Cushman, and Duke Rufus.
What was the message in the corner going into that second round after, again, kind of a one-sided first?
They know sometimes I kind of start slow. So I was kind of finding my range. Duke told me right away I was just looking for too many results off my strikes, and he was right. I was looking for everything to land perfectly, and sometimes you just got to be active. You just got to throw some stuff out there. Not everything's going to land. Not everything has to be a kill shot. You need some setup punches and stuff like that. So, and their big message was, after they saw us on the ground and they saw like I could defend everything, they're like, get on top of him, do what you do, and start, putting the hands on him.
So what did exactly change? And you mentioned a few things you sort of started doing or stopped doing. How were you able to adjust so well?
So I realized that on the outside he was a little bit taller than me, a little bit longer than I had expected, and I knew my better range as far as the striking was concerned was going to be on the inside. Because now if we were saying a traditional kickboxing fight, I think in that case I could outpoint him, but since we're in an MMA fight, I was willing to stand there and stand my ground and swing no matter what the distance was. Whereas when I swung at him, he would kind of bail every single time. So I couldn't get the effect off the punches that I wanted, which meant that I had to close distance and ultimately get him up against a cage where he couldn't run and keep pulling back. Another thing I could have done was when he pulled back to keep going forward and attacking, but I knew he liked that fading lead hook, and that was kind of a big shot that I was watching for to make sure I didn't run into that. And then Biggie had called for it too, and they were calling for takedowns, but Biggie specifically called for that 2-1 to get the upper body takedown. Is something we work on, and it worked like a charm. Threw my cross, followed with a lead hand to kind of shield/hit him. He swung with that big hook, swam right under with my underhook, super easy, and got that takedown.
Did you notice in that second round when you started dominating him yourself that he was tiring quite a bit?
I noticed him tiring in the first round. So when I popped up right at the first round and he was kind of getting that Darce position, I was more just kind of waiting it out, more so than trying to rush to get to the next position. I definitely wasn't winning, but when he had my back for a second, I got out, he was working that Darce. I knew if I rushed too much to a position, he was going to try and attack my neck, and he was going to be really strong. And some guys, bank on that fact that I feel like I have to panic, but he wasn't hitting me on top, so there was no reason for me to move. And by him not hitting, I had much less options, or much less safe options to try to come out on top. And then when I saw he was doing that and fended off the chokes, he kind of settled in at the end of the first round. I heard him take a big deep breath, and I was like, this dude's tired. And that's when you saw me pop up, start kneeing him in the body. And after that, when the second round started, I was like, all right, I got this guy because he's gassing.
All 5 of your UFC bouts have resulted inside the distance. Where does this rank among them as your best performance?
I think this is definitely my most exciting. I think objectively speaking, my last performance, I could see an argument for being my best performance as far as the finish goes, because, everyone loves a knockout. But I think this is definitely right up there with one of the more fan-friendly fights, and I hope a lot of people get to see it now that it's on Fight Pass, and, it's worth checking out.
Did you have your fingers crossed all night that maybe you'd get the fight of the night, which you ended up not getting, but early on you had a case for it?
Yeah, no, I did. I still feel like I should have got the nod, if not both of us, because, Oskar was tough and he took everything I threw at him and more. But, it is what it is. It was still a good fight and still a victory. I got 2 checks, so I'm happy about it.
Where does this, or how much did your heart and just grit and everything, love for the sports and just the fact that you're a tough guy, how much did that come into play, in that first round when you were almost just, trying to survive, I guess?
I mean, clearly a lot, because, there was some technique there, but a lot of it was just refusing to get finished. You know what I mean? Like I said, he's a black belt in jiu-jitsu. I believe he's under Robert Drysdale. He was really attacking that choke, but, I work with Daniel Wanderlei, who's, our black belt, and we're part of the Carlson Gracie team, and we have that old school fight style jiu-jitsu, and so I've been in bad positions with some of the best guys in the world on the ground, and I'm not going to let anybody, I shouldn't be getting submitted anymore, ever. I know I've been submitted earlier in my career, but I'm to the point now where, you're going to have to rip something off for me to ever tap, and it's just not going to happen.
You, of course, ended up choking him out unconscious. You had a ton of ground and pound, a lot of strikes. Should the referee had stepped in before you forced him to?
After watching the fight again, I saw a couple spots where he could have. But again, like I said, even at the post-fight, he kept getting up. It's hard to count a guy out when they keep getting up, and every time there's 3 or 4 times he's like, Oskar, you got to show me something or I'm going to call the fight. Because a lot of people don't understand, just because someone doesn't drop doesn't mean that they're out, or doesn't mean that the fight should be stopped, because the rule is intelligent defense. He was not intelligently defending himself. He was defending himself or trying to, but it wasn't intelligent. But again, the guy had a head of steel and a heart of gold, and he kept fighting back, so he went out to the bitter end, and he gave him, like the commentator said, every benefit of every doubt, and it was made for an exciting fight.
So the fact that you ended up going to the submission and choking him out wasn't more of a, hey, apparently I can't get a TKO, the referee isn't stopping it. It was just capitalizing on an opportunity you saw.
Yeah, I mean, it was a little bit of both. I kind of figured I was wailing on the guy, and he just kept getting up. And even that last
something else.
Right one, there's 10 seconds left, and he's still posturing up again. It's like I haven't put him to sleep with anything yet, and it's been about 2 minutes of straight, ass kicking that I've been giving him. So, and he left his neck wide open. I'm like, well, there's 10 seconds left. I think I could put him to sleep. He's half unconscious, and it worked out.
I believe I asked you about this before the fight. You ended up being the first fight of the night. I know initially it seemed like there was one of the Ultimate Fighter fights would be first, but nonetheless you were first. How nice was that after the fight just to be up first and be done with your fight early on and enjoy the rest of your night?
It was nice. It was kind of weird getting done and it being light outside still, but it was nice. I got to go, see my teammates. I went out to dinner with Paul and some of the guys, and got to see him before his fight, so it was cool.
Where did this win put you in the middleweight division? You're of course 4-1 now, and middleweight is there's a lot of guys there, but when all 5 of your fights finish, result in a finish, you're an exciting fighter, and what is next for you, do you feel?
Man, I don't know. Honestly, it kind of depends on your guys' reaction in the media and the UFC brass. I'm just eager to get back in the cage. I'm going to keep fighting guys, making exciting fights. From the way it seemed after the fight to me, everyone's reaction or lack thereof doesn't sound like it's going to change too much. But I'm not here to pay attention to that. I'm here to kick ass and take names.
As far as when you'd like to get back in there, of course, this wasn't you took a few shots. It's not like you went in there, didn't get hit at all. Would you like to take a little bit of time off, or as soon as you can get cleared and get back in there, is that sort of when you'll fight again?
I mean, I wouldn't mind taking a little time off. It's probably the smarter thing to do, but I think in about 4 or 5 months I can be ready for sure.
Cool. Any ideas an opponent? I know less than 24 hours later. I'm sure you haven't spent time looking at the rankings or anything, but anything stand out?
Nothing whatsoever. No idea.
As far as the very immediate future, you're not going to UFC 226 tonight, but how long are you in Vegas till? Probably tomorrow morning? Or?
Yeah, I'm leaving in the morning. I tried to get in, just didn't get my hand in the pot for tickets in time, but I'm still going to stay here nonetheless, find a place to watch my teammates, and hopefully link up with them after and celebrate the victories.
Awesome, Gerald. Thank you very much for the time, and congratulations once again last night.
Hey, thanks for having me.